All right. Well, I want to welcome you to the One Accord YouTube page. And, um, one of the things that I've got my notes over here, so bear with me. Uh, One of the things that many churches start out with is they have no musicians, or they may have one or two volunteers. The good news is that healthy worship teams can be built intentionally. And so I've been working in all different types of sizes of churches, from 200 people up to 4,500, 5,000 people over my 20 years of experience. So before I move on from there, the whole purpose of this YouTube page is really to empower and equip worship leaders and worship musicians so that they can serve in their local church. And then for those that feel that call to be a worship leader, provide you with information and just like real practical stuff to really build your skill sets and the things that you want to grow in so that you can provide the best possible worship experience for the church that you're serving in. And so that's the whole reason. And this is actually this page, and actually One Accord was a vision that my father had. He has since gone home to be with the Lord. And so I feel like, he basically told me towards the end of his life that this is yours, take the ball and run with it. So anyway, so just to give a quick little blurb about me, and I hate even doing this because but this is just the experiences that I've had. So I'm not trying to be egotistical about anything or whatever. I'm just trying to share the opportunities that I've had, and I'm so grateful for those opportunities. But I started playing piano when I was 7. And I started kind of hearing things, and I'd pick out melodies, and then at that point, my grandmother, my mom's mother, started giving me some piano lessons, but then they retired and moved away. And so I kept on playing and wanting to learn things, and we only had a piano in the upstairs, which is also where the TV was. And back in those times, you didn't have multiple TVs around the house, you had one TV. And so I got to play and mess with things during the commercials in the evenings, and sometimes I'd have to find times when I could play, until such a time at Christmas that my dad bought me a little Casio keyboard that I could play down in my room. I'd sit there and just figure things out and figure out chords and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually it got to the point where I heard about synthesizers, and then I was like, oh, I got to get one of those. So I worked sacking groceries and stocking shelves at a local grocery store here in town, and saved my money over a couple summers. And basically my dad matched what I saved, and I bought my first synthesizer. And so this is during high school and all that kind of stuff. So my Friday evenings consisted of making myself or figure out whatever we were going to have it for dinner as a family. And then I would buy a new cassette tape. And this is when we had cassette tapes, 4 CDs of whatever favorite group I was trying to learn their songs, what they were playing, all those kind of things. And I would literally just go into my room, close the door, and that whole evening to midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, I would sit there and figure out what they were doing and the chords that they were playing and the melodies and all that kind of stuff on my keyboard. And probably drove my family nuts in that, but that's where my love for music started. And then pretty much from there, at age 18, a friend of mine asked me to go to a worship rehearsal at a local church up in the Northland of our area here in Kansas City. And I had been praying about, well, what am I supposed to do with my life? I loved playing the music thing and doing all that kind of stuff. But I just didn't know what what was the next step. And I had been playing around town and playing in bands and all that kind of stuff. Well, finally, that experience there, the Lord spoke to my heart and said, "This is what I want you to do." And then subsequently the worship leader at that church, I went up to him, shared with him what the Lord had just spoken to me, and he kind of took me under his wing. And that's when I was 18 years old, and now I'm 65. And he's still my mentor and my coach to this day, of which I'm very grateful. And so hopefully on this channel at some point in time, I'll get a chance to interview him and he can share some of his experiences. So anyway, if your church has a few musicians or none at all, you're not stuck, is what I want to communicate. And a strong worship team doesn't happen by accident. It's built intentionally. Basically, what I'm going to cover today is, first of all, establishing the spiritual culture. Number 2 is identifying musicians in the church, and then building a core team and creating a rehearsal structure, and then developing musicians long term. So I think the first thing before you do anything in a worship team setting or anything like that is you got to define the heart of the ministry. Like, what are we here to do? What do we feel called to do? So worship ministry is pastoral before it's musical, because again, our heart motivation is to use our gifts and talents and abilities to lead people into God's presence and let the Holy Spirit do what he needs to do and minister to the hearts of the people. It's not about how cool your worship set is. It's really about your heart to let God use you, and in a powerful way, a heart submitted unto Christ, and watch God move and be an integral part of that corporate worship service, and contributing what you bring to the table to that component. But again, it's not about you. You're not the star. I have served under worship leaders that think they're God's greatest gift to the world, and a lot of ego, a lot of just very selfish. I'm going to just put it that way. And there's other worship leaders that I've served under that have a heart for the people, that have a heart for the musicians, and those are the people that I gravitate towards, not the ones that think they're rock stars and here, check out my new worship CD. I'm not knocking worship CDs or if the Lord's given you songs, but there's a right and a wrong way to do that. And I always try to choose the way of humility when I do those things, or involve myself with people. If there's humility there, and their heart is to minister to others, and God's given them a song or a gift or whatever, that's one thing. But when you got people that their ego gets in the way, that just makes me want to puke. Sorry for the what's the word I'm looking for? The transparency, but that's just it's totally turns. I'm just like, ugh. Anyway, so the other thing is musicians must understand the purpose of worship leadership. Okay. And basically just kind of what I covered here just a minute ago was establishing expectations for humility. I'm here to serve, not to be served. Unity, in other words, the worship team is a group. We're working towards a unified purpose, which is lead people into God's presence and let God use us and let the Holy Spirit do what he needs to do. And then also having some spiritual maturity. So I think the questions that most people want answered is, why do we lead worship? Well, I think the thing is you have to feel called into that area of ministry. Not just, it can't be a thing where I just like to play my guitar, or I like to play my keyboards, or I just like to sing, but you feel called to that area of ministry because you are responsible for the setting the atmosphere in a worship service. And so the other thing is, what kind of culture do we want on our team? Well, What we don't want is a bunch of people that think they're rock stars on the platform and don't I look cool and check out my new this, and it's not about that. It's having a heart. The heart posture should be, I'm here to worship and lift up Jesus, lift up the name of Jesus, and to it's not about me. It's all about the Lord. You know. And one of the practical steps you can do is really just write out a simple worship ministry mission statement. For example, I'll use this as an example. I've got this in my notes here. Is our worship team exists to lead the congregation into authentic encounters with God through music, humility, and excellence. Now, let me speak to that. I think one of the things that can be, what's the easiest word I can say? People get hung up on, well, this is good enough. And the flip side of that coin is people can get hung up on the excellent side of thing, or perfectionism. And there is a balance between the two of those things. I think I have always told my team, do the best that you can absolutely do. Now, one of the things that I always kind of have shared is that, in the Old Testament, they gave the best lamb, the unblemished lamb was for the sacrifice. And then they sacrificed that to the Lord. And so we should do our absolute best in anything that we do for the Lord. And especially in the music ministry, one of those things is you obviously need to be able to sing and hold pitch and sing the melody or sing harmonies. If you're a guitar player, you need to know how to play the chords, the strum patterns, the different voicings of how you would play things, and not just playing the root voicings for certain things. Being able to play all the parts. If it's guitar parts, for the keyboard player, you just can't just play block chords and play quarter notes. You need to be skillful in your whatever instrument, whether it's your voice or an instrument. You've got to be skillful in that, and you've got to be able to really be knowledgeable and be able to play different styles, different things. And what happens in churches is they lay the three-legged lamb with blemishes and missing one eyeball, on the altar, and the lamb's kind of like, and they don't give their best, and then they just say, well, that's the Lord will accept that, and it's really doing things not with the spirit of excellence, and the congregation suffers because you got people that shouldn't be on the platform singing, people that can't hear pitch, some people can't sing, and then the structure or the worship thing is all just kind of being done in a very substandard level. So at the same time, I've been in services where you got the flashing lights, the sound sounds amazing, they absolutely nail the song, but you don't feel drawn into worship. It's just all performance based. So there, like I said, there's that healthy balance. And anyway, so now let's move on to the part 2 of identifying musicians already in your church. So most churches already have hidden talent, and if you're the worship leader or you're the song leader in your church, the ways to discover those musicians is personal conversations, connection cards, church announcements, youth group musicians, social media posts, also asking parents about their kids, like are they taking lessons? Are they taking drum lessons? Are they taking guitar lessons? Are they taking voice lessons? Are they taking piano lessons? And so one important insight that I like to cover is the fact that many people won't volunteer unless personally invited. And the key principle in this is that invitation is the most powerful recruitment tool. Now, I'll just give you a quick example of what I do at my church here. One of the things that prior to me coming here is I taught professionally guitar, bass, drums, and piano. And so one of the things that I brought to the table when I came here at Fellowship Olathe, at the church I'm at currently, is that my desire was to raise up and create a pipeline where I could train the younger generation in worship, and because of everything that the opportunities that I've been given and mentored in, I wanted to pay it forward. So I basically started a youth worship band, found out what kids could play, what kids that had interest in playing, and then I spent time with them, teaching them, working with them, and even to this day, I'm working with them on strum patterns, and this is the strum pattern for this song, and this is how you do this. And so I'm constantly pouring into them, teaching them, training them. And now we have 15 kids in our youth worship band, and they're playing every Wednesday, and it's their band. I'm there to kind of help facilitate, but I'm really trying to place the ownership and what they do with it on them. And there's times where they're doing it. And my goal is to really kind of work myself out of not having, basically overseeing it, but then them just running it. But that takes time and training to get them in that habit of doing things with a level of excellence, and all the preparatory things that need to happen, and getting everything set up, and the worship set lists and all that stuff. So that is a process, and that takes time, but it can be done. Ironically, I did it in about 5 months. Well, and technically 90 days, and then we've been going now it's actually been 8 months, and we're going strong. So, one of the things that you have to consider is that people rarely step forward on their own, but when they're invited personally, many will say yes. And I think that's an important component of that. So you have to talk to people. You just can't sit in your office and pray and go, "Oh Lord, bring me a guitar player," or whatever. You have to be proactive. You're kind of, I don't want to say a salesman mentality, but you have to be a networker. You have to network with people, and then you've got to spend that time having conversations and asking people, "Tell me about yourself," and then even those that maybe put on their connection card that they're a musician. Well, then you need to take them out for coffee or talk to them, or have them come up to the church and sit and meet with them and find out what their background is, and are they a good match, and do they have the skill sets if you might find somebody that's been teaching, or you might have somebody that's been playing for a very long time and they're just looking for a place to get connected to, and you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel with them. It's just a matter of getting them plugged in. Then you might have those that are like, "Well, I started playing guitar and then I kind of fell away, but I really have a desire to learn how to do that, or I play piano or whatever." And one of the aspects is that you have to be able to teach people, and that's not everybody has that gift. But if you have in your network, you have people that can teach, then you get those people in the church that want to learn more, get them connected with those that can teach, and then stay in contact with them, and then start giving them opportunities to do things in the ministry. So that's a really positive way to do that, and so that they're growing in their gifts and their talents and abilities, and then they can get to where they can play at a level that you need in, whether it's a youth group situation or for the main service. So let's start with what a small core team might look like as you're starting to build your worship team. So first of all, don't try to build a large team immediately. Start with 3 or 4 reliable people. For an example, maybe you got somebody that can play acoustic guitar or electric guitar, somebody that can play keys, somebody that's a vocalist or a percussionist or a drummer. That's a good starting point. And then from there, and the key principle in that is that consistency matters more than size. Then you focus on reliability, teachability, and then spiritual spiritual attitude. You know, you have to avoid recruiting only based on talent. For an example, a good teaching point would be skill can be developed, character and humility matter more. And I'll just speak into this. I've dealt with, in worship teams, I've dealt with people that have very little character and very little humility. And I will tell you that it is not fun to deal with people that that don't possess those qualities. They actually cause more trouble than they solve problems. And then you spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to deal with those situations. So it's very important that you find someone that's spiritually mature, that they have character and they have integrity, and that has to be first and foremost. So now let's talk about part 4, which is in establishing a simple rehearsal system. Now, the phrase I want to use here is structure removes chaos. You cannot fly by the seat of your pants. You can't put your worship set list together on Saturday night for Sunday morning. You shouldn't put your worship set list together for the week of the service. I'm planned out at least 4 to 6 weeks as far as my worship sets. Now, a lot of that you'll have to work in conjunction with your pastor and figure out if what he's teaching, and hopefully he's got some type of a series or at least some structure for a month's worth of, which then helps you to plan and put things together. Excuse me. In conjunction with the service, and do those things. The rhythm that you should really kind of work towards is a weekly rehearsal, consistent time, and clear expectations on what you want from the worship team. So, rehearsal structure would be an example of a prayer and a devotional for 5 minutes. We're going to review the songs for 30 minutes, work on transitions and arrangements, 20 minutes, and then do a final run through, maybe 10 minutes. So one of the things that I do is we use Planning Center. And so I've got a database that I've built for all the worship songs that we have done or are currently doing. And I build everything in Planning Center. It's a great tool. It helps you to get organized, and it helps you with all your scheduling of your people. It also provides an opportunity for them to rehearse in their own, when they have free time, to go through the worship set and get the songs in their head. With that also, I also provide all the materials as far as charts, any kind of video examples or, any of those kind of things. I provide those, and then that's all in the database. So then if I load a song or put a song in the worship set list, everything's there. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel with that. So that allows them to have the charts in advance. And then you're also respecting the volunteers' time and getting all it together. So the principle behind that is prepared leaders create confident teams. And so in that, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive here, is one of the things that I found. Now, I grew up where we really never had a metronome, so people had to have impeccable time. And then when I got more into the professional side of things, everything was running a click track. If I did any studio work, you were playing to a click. Time is everything, and being able to play in time is everything. It is one of those things, not just learning your chords, but being able to lock in at the tempo. I will tell you that every worship album that you've probably heard in the past 20 years, 30 years, any song that you hear on K-Love or any Christian radio station, the reason those songs sound so good is because in the studio they are playing to a click. There's a locked in time, and that's why that music sounds amazing. I have been to churches where I can tell that they're not playing to a click, and their time fluctuates during the whole song, and some songs are way too fast, and some songs are way too slow. So one of the things that I have used as a tool that I highly recommend is going with something like Loop Community. Currently, right now, I'm going to pull up my other iPad here. Currently, what we run is Loop Community, and then I'm running Prime for our worship sets. So what I do is I can literally load in the songs, have set arrangements, and then I have the click and the cues, and then whatever instrument. And the neat thing about this is whatever instrumentation that you do not have, that can be filled in, and then the people that you do have, if you have an acoustic guitar player, a keyboard player, and maybe a drummer, but you don't have a bass player, and you don't have somebody that can play synth pads or anything like that, this is a great tool. When I have a full team, I basically remove all of these different things, and for the most part, we're running just the click and the cues. And then that way we have a set arrangement. Everybody knows what tempo we're playing everything at. And the other thing that I've also done is set it up to where my team can get in to Prime, and then they can basically review the arrangement that we have, how we're going to do the song, how many verses we're going to do, how many choruses, how we're going to end it, and then the transitions between the songs. They can pre-rehearse that before we even get together on our Wednesday night rehearsal. And again, I'm doing these things 4 to 6 weeks out. So this is a great tool. And then the other thing is, I don't have to field questions about, well, how many times are we doing the chorus, or how many times are we doing the verse? Everything's laid out. It's same, and it just alleviates a lot of issues. The other neat thing about that, using that, is that now, if anybody that's running ProPresenter, they know exactly the form of the song, and now you can line up the slides in conjunction with the arrangement, and it's a done deal. And then you save it, and you just keep the same arrangement for everything that you're doing in Prime, which then mirrors everything that you're doing in ProPresenter. So it's work smarter, not harder. So it makes it way easy, and you're not beating your head against the wall and trying to, I want to add another chorus. It keeps things in a framework that, especially when you're dealing with volunteers, it just simplifies and makes things a lot easier. But it also keeps everybody accountable as far as the time thing is concerned, and not pushing the tempo or not laying back into the tempo. And that's just a learned thing that you'll have to, that the musicians that you're working with will have to develop and get used to. A lot of people are not used to playing to a click, and it takes time to hear that thing in your head and lock in with it and not deviate from it. So that is a thing over time. So which leads me to my next point, which is being able to develop musicians over time. A healthy worship team trains people, not just recruits them. All right. So one of the ways that you can develop musicians is through mentorship. You meet with the younger musicians, which is what I do here. And you help them grow musically and spiritually. So I literally have, I'll just give this example. I literally have like sheets of like the pentatonic scale and teaching those things to the guitar players, and have a whole litany of different things to work with beginning musicians, and understanding how to play the scales, and and understanding chord progressions, and understanding like we're even incorporating and trying to get them used to the Nashville number system, which you can look that up, and maybe we'll even do a thing on that here for one of the videos. So it's helping them grow musically and spiritually, especially those that feel called to serve in that area of ministry or feel called to that ministry at a young age. So what I want to do is build a solid foundation, and basically do what I wish someone had done with me before I was 18 years old. I was kind of flailing around, and so again, comes back down to the whole thing, I want to pay things forward. So The other thing is do workshops, have an occasional training night, or, if it works better for people because people have jobs and school and all that stuff, do like a Saturday morning at the church and buy them breakfast, and then work with the musicians, work on arrangements, work on playing together as a worship band. The other thing is one of the things that I'm trying to do is with the youth involvement is integrating players early. So I've got people that are just kind of coming up and learning how to do stuff, and they may know like G, B, and C, and getting that down, and then starting and working with them on those things. The other thing is always providing constructive feedback, encouraging growth without discouraging volunteers. So one of those things is, we live in a society where people want to hit the easy button. And I'm telling you, in my 56 years of doing this, that there is no easy button. It takes work. It takes work to sit there and play the modes on the guitar and alternate pick and do that for hours upon end. It takes time. It's going to take reps. There is no easy way to do things. It is going to take work. And if you're going to be a worship leader or you're going to be a worship musician, you're going to have to devote some time to learning those skills on your relative instrument with your voice or whatever instrument you're playing. It is going to take time, which means you're not going to be able to do other things, and you're going to have to devote yourself to that. So something's got to give in that, but you can't do it all. So, but if you'll devote yourself to that, and develop those skills and those talents, and really being able to play your instrument well or sing well, then you become a tremendous asset to the worship ministry. Or if you're going to be a worship leader or a worship musician, now you're bringing something to the table, and one of the things that the Bible says is that we should play skillfully as unto the Lord. And so that means that we need to bring our best, and it's going to take time, guys. It's I think they've determined that to be proficient in something takes at least 10,000 hours of practice, trial and error, doing those kind of things, and it just takes time. And there is no easy way around that. There is no shortcut home. There's a song in there somewhere. And so, Rocky theme, look it up. And so, one of the teaching points that I want to iterate is the goal is not to just fill the position. The goal is to disciple musicians. And that's really at the heart of what I do. And I was discipled by my mentor and my coach, and he's still doing that with me to this day. We meet pretty regularly, and man, if you can find somebody that will be a coach and a mentor to you, that has had some experience over the years, 20 plus, man, if you can connect with that person and say, would you mentor me? Would you be my coach? Lock arms with that person, because that's a tremendous resource that you have, and you will grow by leaps and bounds, and because you don't have to have all the answers. And I'm 56 years old, and I still ask questions, but having that as a resource and someone that can kind of guide you and mentor you through the years as you grow in your worship leading skills and as a worship musician is paramount. So I would encourage you to do that. Find somebody like that, and build that relationship with somebody that can really pour into you. Because what I'm finding now is that after my coach and mentor has poured into me all these years, I am now pouring in and mentoring and coaching into the next generation, and remembering all the things that my coach and mentor has said to me over the years. And now I find myself repeating those things and sharing those things with people that I'm training and working with. So, all right, part 6,